everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Long Live Rock and Roll podcast. As usual, to my left is my co-host, Mr. Felipe Amorim.
Hello everyone, and you've heard it right, it's morning.
It is, yeah, we've got a gig to do. We're off to a gig this afternoon. Where are we going to? Worthing.
Worthing, yeah.
That's right, yeah, to play with Jack. So we're waiting for our roadie, Johnny Della, who will be... I haven't decided when the episodes will come out yet, and I haven't ordered them yet, but Johnny is going to be one of our first guests on this show. So you're going to learn and hear a lot more about Johnny in the coming weeks and months from our show. But he's coming to get us, isn't he?
Yes, and we have kind of a limited time frame today because of that. So, tight schedule. We need to finish this episode in no longer than 45 minutes. Right.
Well, we're musicians. We're meant to be
We're good at timekeeping.
Yeah.
Right? We should be. So
it's like that thing in Arrested Development where George Michael comes up to her and says, "Yeah, did you know my timekeeping's incredible. That's why I'm never late." And she says, "Yeah, but hold on, but rhythm and timekeeping aren't they don't mix." And he goes, "Of course they do. It's knowing how long things take."
Which is true. It's so true, though. It's so true.
If you know how long it's going to take you to get from your house to Tesco's, then you're going to know how long in between beats at this tempo.
Exactly. You should be able to keep time in both senses.
It's disclaimer before we start. I'm feeling a little under the weather. I'm good. I'm ready to rock and roll, but I've got a little cough. So what Felipe suggested is we put a little beep over every cough I do, like I'm swearing. So we'll try and do that.
Yeah, Laz doesn't swear, but he coughs. All right, so let's officially start the show.
Yeah.
Let's go for it.
Welcome to the show. And so today we are talking about a specific album, and the album we are talking about is Electric Ladyland by the Jimi Hendrix Experience. I think what we'll do is we'll dive straight into the album, because as good as it would be to talk about Hendrix and his life and what he did, we'll save that for the episode that is just about Hendrix and not about a specific album. But I expect most people listening know who Hendrix is. Quickly, Felipe, I mean, what is there to say about Hendrix? One of the most celebrated guitarists in the world.
Yes, and I think if you can sum it up in one word, innovation.
Yeah. That's
it. I think the thing, there's just loads of people talking about, was Hendrix really the best guitar player of all time? I think that's not the point. I think it was the guy who changed the history of guitar. You know, everyone who came after him was somehow influenced by him, even if they don't want to say it, and if they don't like his music. So yeah, but I might say, which is totally related to the album, if you listen to the songs and if you pay attention to the songwriting, the lyrics and everything, I think Hendrix, because he was so good at guitar, he was underrated as a songwriter. And his music, I personally don't think he was too focused in being recognized as a guitar player. That was one of the things he did, and he was such a great lyricist.
I think that's an incredibly valid point, because the reason I chose... So what happens when we, just so you guys know a little behind the scenes, when we choose what to do in episodes, one week Felipe says, "I want to talk about Queen." I say, "Fine, you've chosen the band / artist, I'll choose the album. I want to talk about Led Zepp 2. On this occasion, Felipe chose the band. I won't say it in case it's a spoiler for next week's episode, but I chose the album, which is Electric Ladyland. Two reasons. One, it's my favourite Hendrix album. And two, I think it has his most brilliant songwriting on. And again, as we go through and talk about certain songs, I'll explain why I feel that way. But you're right, man. He was too good at guitar that his songwriting got overlooked, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is such a tragedy, because this album and his others have fantastic songs on them.
That's exactly what I think. I mean, and I love I love his lyrics, and I love the melodies and the arrangements. And one thing people might remember, this is Jimi Hendrix Experience. He had Band of Gypsies, he had other lineups, and he changed lineups really fast after this album. So he had so many different bands until his tragic death, which is only a couple of years after the album. So a lot has happened from 68 to 70. But the interesting thing there is Jimi Hendrix Experience is a band, is a power trio, and they did sound like a band. And you can clearly hear that the other guys had a lot of input and a lot of freedom to play whatever they wanted.
Absolutely, yeah, and we'll get one of those songs that will become apparent.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's start the discussion about Electric Ladyland. As usual, I'll just give you a couple of facts about the album. So, called Electric Ladyland, released on October 1968, recorded between July and December of 67, and January to August of 68. So that's a long recording period. Like, that's quite a long time.
It is, yeah, especially for a guy who recorded so many songs in a short period of time. Yeah.
It was recorded between London and New York, so they were at the Olympic Studios in London, that's right, and then they went between the Record Plant and Mayfair Recording Studios in New York. So we talked about this with Zepp too, didn't we? They were going between countries, and he did actually record this album after coming off tour, so that might explain why he's in different locations recording it, you know.
Yeah.
It's the length of the album. Now it's a double LP, isn't it? It's an hour and 15 minutes long, which is half an hour longer than the last album we did, which was Dark Side of the Moon. But the quality doesn't suffer for it, does it?
No, not at all. Because it's you would think that long albums they either have too many songs or songs that are way too long, and it's not really that. It's got like a 15-minute song in the album, but there's loads of songs that are shorter than 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's why I believe he was looking for proper like creativity freedom. He wanted to do whatever he wanted to do, regardless of how long is this going to be. Yeah. Do I need a guitar solo here or not? Some songs are not really guitar based, if you think about it, and you have those short ballads, and you have those really long blues improvisations all in one album. So I believe that's why it's not boring, because long albums they can be made of long songs or way too many songs, and it's not the case.
And with long albums that have too many songs, I think you find that the quality of songs, let's say an album has 20 songs, you can find 5 incredible songs, 10 okay ones, and then 5 that maybe you skip.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to say that. I don't want to generalize with most double albums.
But that happens a lot.
It does, yeah, you're right.
I mean, and you pick your favorite songs and you just listen to them, especially if you don't have too much time. I think this is definitely an album you can listen from start to finish. And we do love talking about those albums that you actually listen to every single song in the album. Although I have my favorites, of course.
It's like what we said about Dark Side of the Moon. It's an experience, but I think what's unusual here is the length of this experience, because it's a long album. But like you said, there's nothing I'd like to skip on this album. I think it's brilliant.
And there's no central idea or concept. It's not concept kind of album. Yeah. It's just like a bunch of really good songs he put together. Yeah. One important element of this is like Hendrix was clearly looking for building that bridge between his thoughts and his music. He really, really wanted the album to sound and look as he had.
As he operated.
Yes, as he operated. And he is the producer in the album, and he was famous for doing too many takes of the songs until he got the perfect take. Yeah. Also, he would invite loads of musicians to collaborate. And particularly in this album, he started spending more time behind the mixing desk as well, and experimenting with the technology. There's a heavy use of the wah-wah pedal and fuzz and other guitar effects, and those things were not that common at the time. Everyone uses those pedals nowadays, but Hendrix was like one of the pioneers in that. And he was, so that's why I think it's really well balanced. He cared about the lyrics and the melodies and the arrangements, but he was also interested in the production and technology. Same as Pink Floyd, which we've mentioned before. Like some of those guys in the 70s and 60s, they were really, really concerned about what technology can bring to music, and he was really, really good at that.
No, I agree. Excellent. Right, well, let's crack on then. Let's start talking about the album. So the track starts off, the album starts off with a track called "And the Gods Made Love," which is it's like 1.5 minute.
Is it a song at all?
Well, it's an intro music, I think you call it. Yeah. What was important about this is that he made it using loops and phasing, so you can hear it. And I think there's a section in it where he's playing or speaking something, and they take the tape and they flip it around. So you're hearing his guitar sound, but it's reversed. You're hearing it backwards, just like on Graceland. For those who don't know, Paul Simon, Graceland, there's a bass solo in the middle of the song, You Can Call Me Al. Oh, a bass solo, it's just a slap thing. And the bass player slapped the solo and they reversed it.
Yeah.
So this is a common, and the Beatles did it in the Revolver album. Yeah, that song with the sitar. They reversed that, George Harrison's solo. So that's kind of important as well, because this is 68. The Beatles had done it already, but remember what we said in the previous episode. Just because the Beatles were doing things, we need to remember that the Beatles were responsible for so many innovative recording techniques. Just because they did it in 64 doesn't mean that it was used 400 times from 64 to 68.
Yeah.
It would still have been used very sparsely. Not a lot of people would have done it.
Can we say that not everyone would dare to use those things?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's just those guys trying to sound like the Beatles or repeating someone else's experiment.
Yeah, no, you're right. But you've also got to remember that in those days, cutting a tape could fuck up the song.
Yeah.
Because we're not talking about using software where you just copy and paste things.
Probably there's just like one button that you press and then backwards cymbal sound.
Yeah.
Or even like just pre-recorded stuff. It's like
but it's a risk.
Yeah.
When I say cutting tape, you literally mark where the part is you want to cut and you snip it with scissors, and there's a special glue, and you take, if they want to get rid of an extended guitar solo, you pull that out and say, we'll chop the solo in half, you pull out that tape and you join the other two bits of tape and glue them together.
And you had to be so precise to do that without changing the time of the song and all that stuff. So
so to do that is really important.
Yeah, it is. So Hendrix was, that's why it took a lot of time and a lot of money, and that's why I think it was the label that suggested him to build his own studio. That's another interesting fact.
Wow.
Before we dive into the songs, I want to say that because do you know the name of the studio?
No.
I'm going to ask you later. So I have a quiz for you. You were not planning that. So basically, he started his own studio in New York City because he was spending so much time and money in studios that it made sense for him to have his own place where he could be creative and collaborate with people and have no proper schedule. Just go there and spend the day recording. Yeah. Unfortunately, because he died so young, he only spent around 10 weeks at his own studio recording stuff. But so that's why. So that happened pretty much at the same time as Electric Ladyland. So.
Do you know, there's something else I wanted to add about that. What you just said about him building his studio. Yeah. One thing that's special about this album is that this album was the first album that Hendrix had complete control over.
Yeah.
Even though he was in another person's studio and there was an engineer and a producer, although he was co-producing. In the previous albums, as good as they are, Axis Boulder's Love is incredible and Are You Experienced is a very good album. The record label had a huge impact on what went on those albums, and it pissed Hendrix off. Really, that might explain why he built his own studio.
That's like, I want to do things my own way. So creative control, and when you say he was a perfectionist, to a certain level, he was so obsessed in getting the right sounds and the right ideas out that he wouldn't accept any external influence. So he wants to be in control. And that's why the album's so good as well, because there's no bad influence from anyone. It's like, I want to do this. This is how I see my music. That's what I have in my head.
And I will spend the time and money making it. I will spend the time and money executing it so that it is perfect to my standards. Yeah, perfect. So anyway, knowing that, I think we just said that. I know we started the tracks, but I thought that was kind of important information to know that. This, as we talk through the tracks, you're now going to hear why what we've just said is going to make this album better, because Hendrix had complete control for once.
So probably that's and also obviously he had as collaborators his musicians. But if you think about this, it might be his ultimate masterpiece, really, because it's he did everything he wanted to do in the album. Yeah. Although he wasn't happy at the end, I guess. Like, he was never happy. He wanted, to sound.
Always strive.
Yeah, I got an idea in my head. I really wanted to sound like that, but you can't have everything.
Exactly. Right. Anyway, so track 2 of the album is "Have You Ever Been to Electric Ladyland?" I'd like to say a few things on this.
Yeah.
The one thing that I found fascinating with this is that this is an album by a guy who has already become known for his guitar playing.
Yeah.
He's already become known for his rock songs, Purple Haze, stuff like that is a rock song. Yet he has started this album off with a weird 1.5 minute electro phasing tape thingy.
Yeah.
And then he goes into a song that I hear old style R&B. It almost sounds like an Etta James track to me. Have you ever been? Have you ever been?
Yes, really you do have.
It reminds me of Smokey Robinson, The Temptations.
You got the kind of vocal harmonies and stuff that he usually does.
The swing, the softness of it. It's really weird because that's not how you expect Hendrix to kick off an album.
I think so. My impression is that it's like those first 2 tracks are like one open theme for the album. So, you know, when you have the credits at the beginning of a movie, you know, that kind of stuff, and have some, you know, soft background music. I feel like that's what he intended with this, because the first song for me is Crosstown Traffic. Is where you actually have
Hendrix,
heavy and dirty, fast.
So these first 2 tracks are like the overture to the album.
Yeah, it's like...
There's something really funny.
Imagine people listening to the LP at the time thinking, wow, is this Hendrix at all?
Did I buy the right one?
Yeah, what the hell's going on? And then you have Crosstown Traffic.
Listen to what he said about And the Gods Made Love. So this is what Hendrix said about it. We knew this was the track that most people will try to criticise, so I put it first to get it over with.
How would you dare to start an album
with such an unconventional track,
with something that you believe people are not going to like? It's like, I don't care, that's my vision, I love it.
But that is the artist saying, screw you, this is what I want the album to sound like.
And if you can't take this first one, just don't listen to the rest of it. So exactly, what like a, you know, what an attitude.
Next song, Crosstown Traffic. Do you want to talk about this?
The one thing I like about is can you have the lyrics there?
Do you want me to find the lyrics? Of
find the lyrics, because there's some interesting stuff, because he's basically talking about his interactions with a woman, I guess.
Okay.
And how hard it is to get through, you know, and he's comparing to the Crosstown Traffic, you know.
Oh,
so
really?
That's how I got from the lyrics by listening to it. There you go. There's a few lines in there that I
what are your favourite ones? Yeah,
I mean, let me find one here that sums it up, because
I think
you just like Crosstown Traffic, so hard to get through to you, you know. It is what it is. So basically, he is comparing like the life in a busy city and stuff like that to trying to, you know, get through, to reach out maybe. And I do have an impression that it was so different from, you know, he was a genius. I mean, that's an overused term. Everyone said, oh, that guy's a genius, is a legend, whatever. But he was a true musical genius.
That's really what this show's about, though.
Yeah.
We're trying to give the legends and the geniuses their platform again.
Exactly.
So I wouldn't be worried about using the word genius too much on this show, because we're going to come across a lot of them.
Exactly. So Hendrix was a true genius. And I think when you're like that, how disconnected from reality are you? So I'm going a bit philosophic here, but I think there's a lot of him in his lyrics, a lot of him trying to reach out to the real world. Like, I want to connect with women, I want to connect with people, I want, you know, like people who work with me, and people who, because he was disconnected from even the people who were working with him, because he was so perfectionist that he would would dismiss people, like, no, do you know what, I want to do this my own way, I don't need you.
Didn't we talk about that, Pink Floyd doing that 5 years later with Dark Side of the Moon?
Yeah, exactly.
Roger Waters trying to make lyrical content that everyone could understand.
Everyone could understand, but I think Hendrix's lyrics are more personal. It's like, oh, here's me, you know, I'm trying to get through this crosstown traffic. You know, I'm trying to get through the noise. And, you know, and through you know, basically the background noise of real life, and reach out to a person. It's really, really interesting stuff there.
No, I agree.
And you see, there's no songs for me. I can't find any of his songs that are actually talking about a relationship. He's not in a relationship. He's looking for. He's always trying to reach out. You know, I can't get through. I can't connect to that woman. And
isn't that fascinating that when you've got bands like, let's just take Led Zeppelin, who sing mostly about relationships, despite the fact that maybe at the time Zeppelin were writing songs, they weren't in relationship. Listen, you don't have to be in a relationship to write a song about a relationship. But if you think about, think about how many Beatles songs are about his girls, the relationship, their love.
And in this story, you clearly see that the characters of that lyric, those lyrics, they are a couple.
Yes.
And they have a hard time, whatever.
But Hendrix hasn't even reached the relationship.
No, it's like
how personal is that?
Yeah,
that's
it's
fantastic,
so cool,
isn't it?
That's how I think about it.
So track 4 is Voodoo Child, which is
that's the blues.
Yeah.
That's the blues. So that's there's 2 Voodoo Child on the album.
Yeah. This is the first one. This is a long, 14 minutes?
15 minutes, something like that.
Just a long blues jam, and it is just fantastic.
Yeah.
Is it live?
It's a live recording. I think Steve Winwood is in there. Don't quote me on that, but I think there's some famous musicians.
Well, if you want to hear what Hendrix thinks about the blues, this is the track to, well, obviously listen to the others first, but then you're going to hear it. Listen, you're going to hear it when you come to it. It is a live track. This is where we see guitar god Hendrix. Yeah.
Interesting thing there, Mitch Mitchell's drumming is fantastic, not only in this song, but throughout the whole album. Loads of syncopated stuff, displaced snare drums, because he's not just keeping the beat. He was clearly a jazz drummer playing rock.
Yeah.
And Hendrix allowed him to play like that. So it's the groove, it's almost like the groove is not there.
Yeah.
It's like playing melodic phrases on the drums most of the time, and it's a big part of the album. But yeah, it's a long blues jam, so I don't think there's too much of a script to that song. It was just like, let's just jam, and again, freedom.
Yeah, well, actually, one thing I was reading about with this tune is that he was trying to... So what Hendrix would do is he would go all around New York City and try and find jam nights and music bars where he would go and jam with other musicians. And this song was him trying to recreate his best jams with the other musicians. So he'd obviously sought after people and musicians.
Again, imagine someone at his level with that, that musicianship, all that creativity, already one of the most profitable live acts in the world.
Yeah.
Going to a small venue to connect with musicians he doesn't know.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to reach out. Again, I want to see what people are doing.
Yeah.
I want to learn from them. So, what a great attitude.
The best, so I read a book by a bass player called Victor Wooten, which is called The Music Lesson. And he's just in 10 different chapters talking about different aspects of music. And the first thing he starts talking about is, he always says, play with people who are better than you, because then you improve. And there's a great little story he puts in this book where he goes up to she's teaching one of his students, and he goes up to a shelf and he puts out, he says, you've got to play with people who are better than you. And he goes to the shelf, he pulls out a Miles Davis album, puts it on, and he says to the student, play with people who are better than you. Yeah, exactly. But I mean,
but do you think Hendrix was looking for people who were even better than him? Probably he was.
I do because I think you can hear. We've said how good his songwriting is, and that's what we're going to mainly focus on and commend on this episode. When we do a Hendrix specific episode, we'll talk about his guitaring mainly, but there's nothing on here which makes me think Hendrix can't do better in his guitaring. And that's not saying the solos on this album aren't good. It's that knowing Hendrix, there would always be more to come. So I would not, so in answer to your question, I would not put it past Hendrix that even at the level he was, with the fame and the notoriety that he had, he would still be seeking to go out and play. The man loved his guitar. He loved playing the guitar. So why wouldn't he go around bars in New York City on his nights off, just jamming?
Maybe one night where you're not feeling that creative, you don't want to record anything, but you want to go there and play.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Excellent. Well, the next track is Little Miss Strange, track 5. Now this is written by Noel Redding, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's sung by him as well. So Noel Redding is the bass player of the Jimi Hendrix Experience. And this was his song. I believe he wrote it all. He definitely sings on it. You can hear it's not Hendrix singing. And I just want to say a quick little thing about this song is, I think out of the whole album, this song reminds me most in terms of influences of British pop music during the 60s.
All right.
In here, I hear the Kinks, I hear the Beatles.
There's a bit of acoustic guitar in that one, isn't there?
Yes, there is at the start, I think. But I hear, was Noel Redding British?
Yes, I think both him and Mitch Mitchell. See, we don't know. We don't know everything about those. I need to do research. But I think they were.
Yeah.
I'll find out for you right now. But I think, yeah. So that's the other thing I believe is very unpredictable about the album. With Hendrix trying to have all that creative control, he would still allow his bass player to sing the song and write a song for the album.
Yeah.
So that, and obviously it's a completely different songwriting style. So you wouldn't expect that song to sound anything like the song that you just heard.
But it doesn't.
It doesn't.
I don't think it does sound anything like it.
Well,
but it doesn't
idea.
sound out of place either.
No.
I think what this song does is it is, like I said, it reminds me of the Kinks, mixed with the Beatles, mixed with the Animals. But the vocals on it, the way he sings it and the lyrics as well remind me of a track that we'll stick all of these that we're talking about in a playlist, and it will be at the bottom of the show notes for you to check out whilst you're listening to the episode.
So sorry.
I was just going to say that I've got a track written here that it reminds me of Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention. They have a song from the first album called Freak Out, and the song is called Motherly Love. And this Little Miss Strange really reminds me of Motherly Love by the Mothers of Invention. Just the way he sings it, his vocal tone. And I found it really interesting because to me, musically, like I said, it sounds like it wouldn't sound out of place in a playlist with the Beatles, the Kinks, the Stones, the Who.
So that connects more to British music from the 60s.
But at the same time, I've just compared it to a Zappa song.
Yeah.
So an American artist doing the same kind of music that this song is at the same time that the Beatles and the Kinks are doing their thing.
Isn't it interesting to think about that? At that time, without Google, without YouTube. By the way, I've just confirmed that both Mitch Mitchell and Noah Redding are British
that makes sense.
musicians,
Like
which I wanted to be sure because I know that Hendrix moved from America to the UK to play with a British band. Just to confirm, those guys were born in the UK. And you got to think at that time, without Google, without YouTube, without this kind of really fast information we have nowadays, everything is so really quick to find out about stuff. Yeah. Imagine to understand British music for an American, the best way to do it, and probably the only way to properly do it, would be to move to the UK.
Yeah.
And I would say that he wouldn't be so appreciated in America if he wasn't playing with Jimi Hendrix Experience. I think the fact that he moved to the UK to embrace London's culture and music scene and do this perfect mix of American and British music, that was like essential for his image and essential for him to actually sell in America.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think it's fascinating as well. I don't know what word to use. I'm going to use the word ambition, that he's gone over to a completely different country to seek out musicians because he wants to, like you said, cross his writing platforms.
Yeah, exactly. And again, just keep adding stuff to his music, adding more and more layers of information and culture. How cool is that?
Fantastic.
Let's keep going because there's too many songs to talk about.
So number 6 is Long Summer Night. I don't really have anything to say about that. Cool tune, but
I like the lyrics. Check it out.
Number 7. Cool. Now I just want to say a little thing about this song. Number 7 is the song called Come On, and it is a cover by Earl King. It's kind of like a New Orleans style R&B, isn't it? This tune. You can really hear the old style blues in it. And to me, again, just like Voodoo Child. What is it? Chili? It's spelled like the country Chile, isn't it?
It does.
It is. Let's call it Voodoo Chili.
I think no, it's Child.
Let's do Child.
Yeah.
So just like Voodoo Child, this to me is Hendrix showing his appreciation for the blues.
Yeah.
And we're only 7 songs into the album, but already this mix of songs you've got.
If you stop there, it's like
it's an already.
Is it like actually recorded by just one band? Yeah. It's like amazing.
So that was a great one. And to me, the Come On, it really reminded me of Eric Clapton at the same time, which again is not interesting comparing a British guitarist heavily influenced by the blues and an American one. This reminds me of the stuff I'd hear Clapton playing at the same time with Cream, on his own, with John Mayall and the Blues Breakers. I just found that kind of interesting because again, you've got 2 guys who are probably the same in their own worlds, but Clapton's in Britain, Hendrix is in America.
And it does, it's interesting to see that.
Yeah. Well, after that, you've got the song Gypsy Eyes. You like that
Gypsy
one,
Eyes,
don't you?
I like that. I used to play that.
Really?
Every single time I just.
But you've been in a Hendrix cover band, haven't you?
I've been in a Hendrix tribute band.
So that's Creedence. He's done.
Deeper
He's
upon Hendrix.
Creedence.
Deeper.
No, Pink Floyd.
Pink Floyd. Yes.
Pink Floyd. Deep Purple. Now Hendrix.
Yeah.
I've done Queen. I've done a Queen tribute band. We both need to get in a Zeppelin one.
We did to start
together
one. Yeah.
we'll have been in every tribute band of all the episodes we've done.
That would be great. Yeah.
But yeah, anyway. Talk to us about Gypsy Eyes.
Yeah, I remember playing that. So it's an interesting stuff. Like there's loads of experimental sounds. If you listen to the effects on the drums, and it's mental, really cool stuff. What I like about it is the fact that he doubles the vocal melody with the guitar. And it's a very common thing in jazz music, but you don't hear much of that in rock and roll.
No, that's true.
It's so cool that, and it shows how aware of the guitar. How can I put it? How aware he was of the instrument. Really, he knows exactly where each note is. He would think melodically rather than thinking scales or techniques, and he would follow the guitar melody with his vocals, or the other way around, whatever. So it shows the perfect connection between his vocals and his guitar playing. Great song.
Agree.
Totally recommend that one.
It's almost like he didn't use the guitar as it was intended, which I know it's a slightly silly thing to say, because we do get guitar solos, we do get songs starting with a guitar riff, but songs like this that you've said, where he doubles the melody with the guitar, that's not the job of a guitar. He's found another use for the guitar here.
Exactly.
And it's 1968, let's remember.
You got to think of that,
Yeah, anyway.
Beautiful.
Fantastic. Right, the next one is actually one of my favourite tunes, which is called The Burning of the Midnight Lamp.
All right.
Quite a psychedelic song. I like that weird intro. I don't know what it makes me think of. It makes me think of kind of Chinese, Japanese influenced music. The bow wow wow down wow 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 down down wow 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 down. You know, he's got the wah wah pedal on that as well. Intro, it has a harpsichord playing.
Yeah.
Now a harpsichord, for anyone who doesn't know, is a piano, but instead of, if you play a piano key, any piano, the piano plucks a string. So when you push down the key, a string is plucked and a sound is produced. Now with a harpsichord, I'm sorry. When you play a piano, a string is tapped like that. With a harpsichord, the string is plucked. If you just YouTube harpsichord, you'll hear it, and it sounds like a lot of violins being plucked.
Yeah.
So this is really interesting, because J.S. Bach, the classical composer from the 1600s, he was the prime composer of the Baroque era of classical music, and the harpsichord was the prime instrument used. So fascinating that in 1968, 400 years later, Hendrix is using a harpsichord on his stuff. It's still still an instrument that people use every day.
It's part of him trying things out. Oh,
trying things out. Yeah, absolutely. Seeing what works and what doesn't. Number 11. Now this is where we have 1983, A Merman I Should Turn to Be. Do you want to talk about this one?
You want to talk about that one?
I do. I'll talk about it. My first thing I want to say is the studio production on this is just incredible. It really feels like a long prog rock jam, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it's not. Well, I suppose
well,
it could be, but it's a
there are
rock
parts,
song.
yeah, it does evolve, but it's quite long. Probably the longest one after the first Voodoo Child.
It is, yeah. There's a really interesting thing, is all the seagull sounds you hear on this track is actually Hendrix cupping his guitar pickups and putting them close towards the microphone, and he's moving his hands, so it's like wow wow wow, and that's the seagull sound you get, which is incredible. But again, great solos on this, isn't there? The playing's fantastic, and to play a song that's this long in the studio, they probably only did it in a few takes.
Incredible. That's the thing. Again, he was trying to make the guitar sound as something that is not a guitar.
Yeah, exactly.
Really cool.
Now, number 13 is Still Raining, Still Dreaming,
so
which is
reference to Rainy Day.
Exactly. No, I wanted to touch on this because this is the first of two occasions on the album where he is relating to a previous song. Rainy Day, Dream Away. Rainy Day, Dream Away. Another song, Still Raining, Still Dreaming. Voodoo Child, Slight Return. He is making tracks with previous tracks in mind.
And the connection there is on the lyrics. So that's why I say to people, there's no relation between those songs in terms of guitars or whatever. It's the lyrics that actually make those songs related. So I think you should, for this album, if you have the chance to listen to the album whilst reading the lyrics, it's a
very
great
beneficial
experience, to use the right word.
No, I agree. For sure. The other thing I wanted to talk about Still Raining, Still Dreaming is, my God, I love the guitar on that album, because when it's at the very start, he's making the guitar talk.
Yeah.
Now, I'd love everyone to find a video if you can. I don't know where you'd find it. Try Facebook or YouTube. But it is...
We're going to have the links, right?
Oh, I can do that, yeah. I'll find the video for you. And it is a video of a dad and his kid. The kid is about 2 years old, and they're watching a baseball game together. And the dad is saying, he's sat there and his kid's next to him, and he goes, yeah, that was a good shot, wasn't it? And the kid is replicating his dad, going, and the kid's trying to have a conversation, and his dad's going, yeah, look, you made it to first base. And the kid goes, oh, there we go. I know I sound stupid, but when you see the video, you'll understand.
The boy can't speak
yet. The kid is trying to communicate. He's learning from his dad. And this is what I feel with this guitar.
It's like the guitar is learning from Hendrix.
Yes.
Like listen to the
tune, and one of the first sections of the tune is a guitar solo. And it's not a continuous solo. You don't hear a barrage of notes. You don't hear phrases and melodies that are repeated. It's just... wow. It's like the guitar's having a conversation with the rhythm section, and I love it. It's just so different, man. For 1968, to like I said, to choose that as the way you're going to present your guitar skills.
Yeah, it's not innovation in a weird way.
No,
isn't it interesting? Right. It's everything it does in terms of trying new sounds out makes you think like, wow, how did he do that?
Yeah.
And it does sound really nice. So
it's wonderful. Yeah, it's a conversation.
It's really cool. Yeah.
Anyway, right, the penultimate song of the album is probably one of Hendrix's most famous songs, even though it's not his, and that is All Along the Watchtower, which famously is a cover of a Bob Dylan song. Talk to us about All Along the Watchtower.
Do you know what Bob Dylan said about his version?
I do, but tell our listeners.
He said he made it better. He improved the song, and it's true, because again, whilst Hendrix was concerned about lyrics and arrangements and everything else, Bob Dylan is essentially a storyteller. Yeah. More than a musician. I think I'm okay to say that.
Yeah.
And when you listen to what Hendrix did to his song, it's like, wow, it's not doing anything that changes the song in a negative way at any point.
Absolutely.
He's simply taking the song to a complete different level in terms of arrangements.
Yeah.
And performing, and guitar solo is just amazing. Dynamics, it goes up and down. It's one of my favorite tracks of all time.
Is it?
Yeah. I loved it.
It's a great tune.
I loved it. It's the way he does it. It's just.
I'll give you the
flawless.
I'll give you the full quote from Bob Dylan. He said about Hendrix, he had such talent. He could find things inside a song and vigorously develop them. He found things that other people wouldn't think of finding in there. He probably improved upon it by the spaces he was using. I took license with the song from his version, actually, and continue to do it to this day. Which means Bob Dylan heard Hendrix's version and said, oh shit, I like that solo. Band, when we do that song, we're going to put a solo in between verse 2 and 3.
It's like we're going to do it like that.
So he preferred Hendrix's version, which I think attests to what you said about Bob Dylan being a storyteller. Yeah. And I consider Bob Dylan a poet as well as a lyricist and a storyteller. Is he a musician? We'll do that when... No, I'm joking.
But that's the thing. It's Hendrix wanted to reach Dylan's level as a lyricist. So it's highly influenced by him.
He was, wasn't he? Yeah, no, definitely. Fantastic song, though. It's Hendrix's highest selling single.
Oh, you were saying?
Yeah. No, Brian Jones from the Rolling Stones. Do you know the story here?
I know.
Oh, you go for it then.
I'll tell you that. So he was supposed to join Hendrix in this song playing piano.
He was.
And they were mates.
But do you know what happened?
Yeah, he was way too drunk to play.
So they put him on percussion.
Yeah.
Because who can't hit things
Just for
when
the
you're drunk?
Yeah. Oh,
Is that it just for the intro?
Yeah, just for the intro, really.
What can you hear? What percussion can you hear?
I forgot the name of the instrument. It's a really weird. There's a noise right at the beginning, like a rattling noise. I forgot the name of the instrument.
Yeah.
But he does that right at the beginning, and that's the only thing he did in the song, because Hendrix just felt a bit embarrassed with the situation, and he didn't want to let him down. So he's like, "I've invited you to come to the studio, so you need to be in the record somehow."
Yeah.
But he couldn't play. He tried a few takes on the piano, just wasn't sober enough to play. So Hendrix said,
rock and roll.
We're gonna, that's rock and roll.
Excellent. Right. So yeah, we're on to the last song, which is again, like I said, it's a continuation or a furthering of a previous song on the album.
Yeah.
Which is Voodoo Child, and here we have Voodoo Child, Slight Return.
Which
talk to us about that one.
Probably the most famous song in the album. Should I say that?
Apart from All Along the Watchtower.
Yes,
yeah.
but that's not Hendrix. So what I'm going to say,
yes,
in terms of talking about his own songs, that one is alongside Foxy Lady,
Purple Haze,
and Purple Haze as like
his trademark
song.
The top 5 Hendrix.
Guitar
songs.
starts a song, heavy wah-wah presence. The riff tells this story more than anything else, and is a really nice groove. So the bass and the drums are there, like strong presence of the band. That song sums up what Jimi Hendrix is for most people. If you're new to Hendrix and you've got time to listen to one song, I would go for that one. There's loads of jamming in the song, but there's a solid groove and a really, really interesting riff.
Good lyrics as well.
Yeah, lyrics. And again, you have the guitar following the vocals.
Absolutely.
All the classic elements of his playing are there.
No, I agree. And songwriting as well.
Yeah.
Although we've seen complex... I tell you what, I know it's not on this album, but my favourite Hendrix song is The Wind Cries Mary. Do you know that one?
Yeah.
Isn't it fantastic? But
his best lyrics, in my opinion.
I think so too, yeah. So although we might see better examples of more complete songwriting on other albums, I think, like you said, Voodoo Child, someone who's never heard of Hendrix, play me a song that for you epitomizes Hendrix, there's Voodoo Child. And I think a lot of people would agree with you on that.
Yeah.
Some may say Purple Haze, but...
I think that one, because it's, there's more, there's more elements.
And it shows his guitar playing a lot more as well, doesn't it? Yeah. Excellent. That's it. Well, we've done the tracks from the album now. Is there anything you want to say about the album in full?
I think what defines the album for me is Hendrix's search for perfection.
Yeah.
And no limit to what you can or you cannot do in an album. It's like, I want to do this and I want to try this. And he would simply record any idea that crossed his mind.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. I love it.
Do you want to know something really crazy? What you've just described is someone who seems to be in control, have power over their product. But did you know Hendrix was so shy? He used to hide behind screens when doing vocals.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, he hated it. He hated being the limelight. But what didn't help, and this is Hendrix, what's the phrase, stepping on his own toes or whatever. Yeah. He always invited tons of people into the studio whilst they were recording. Here's a quote from Noel Redding, who says, "There were tons of people in the studio. You couldn't move. It was a party, not a session." And it's actually the reason that the album's producer, Chaz Chandler, stopped working with Hendrix.
It was like too messy.
He said, I can't work this way. Apparently, literally, as Redding said, it was a party.
But
people drinking, shouting, talking, and you've got a band trying to record an album in there.
But then, isn't it what music's all about? A good, as I say, is a good excuse to get people together and dance and celebrate and have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So he was doing, and again, it's his personal search for people to interact with.
Yeah.
And there's I don't remember which of his gigs he actually said on the microphone that he wanted to be able to just make love to every single person in the audience. So that he basically said that it's like I want to go there, I want to be with each one of you. So yeah, cool.
Fantastic. Well, we're done now. I mean, the album's essentially finished. One thing.
Have we got? Okay.
Oh no, I was going to ask you how you want to summarize the genre of this album.
Ooh.
Would you or can you?
You would have to, or I would call it experimental rock.
Undoubtedly, this is a rock album, albeit rock album on the point of evolving into something else.
Ooh.
And also, other words that I've seen bandied about, psychedelic pop and aggressive funk.
Aggressive funk.
That's the first time I've heard that term.
Could it be like,
funk.
Psychedelic blues jam? You can call it whatever you want.
I know.
But as we said, we usually go for the term rock when we can't actually describe what was going on. Rock is a fusion of stuff.
Yeah.
And then if you guys listen to the very first episode, which is Rock and Roll is Dead.
Yeah.
So listen to it, and that's what we talk about. Rock and roll being musical freedom and like mixing up different genres.
Yeah.
So I think it's rock.
Yeah,
You don't need to say. I would just call it experimental rock, because there's no other band in the world that deserves the name Experience more than them.
Hendrix,
You know?
I agree.
It's
with
an
that,
experience.
Fantastic. Well, before we just summarise the end of the album, we'll take a chance to do a quick segment where I'm going to give Felipe a quiz.
A quiz.
So here is the quiz. Right, so we're back with a quiz. One of our segments for this episode.
Disclaimer.
I got 5 questions for Felipe. So guys, if you're listening, play along, answer if you want, keep track of your score and comment under this post when it comes out on YouTube or our socials, and let us know how you did. So question 1, how many takes did Hendrix and Mitchell do for Gypsy Eyes? Was it 30, 40 or 50?
40.
Well done, that's the correct. So they spent 40
I don't
takes.
get the questions up front.
No, he doesn't.
I know.
Okay, number 2. Which famous singer's mother sang backing vocals on Burning of the Midnight Lamp?
Whitney Houston.
Yes! Did you know that?
I know that.
What an incredible piece of trivia. Whitney Houston's mum was the backing vocalist on
She's
Burning
so
of the
funny,
Midnight Lamp. Amazing. Right, question 3. How did Hendrix achieve the kazoo sound on Crosstown Traffic? A piece of grass between his thumbs. B, a piece of paper over a hair comb. Or C, shouting into his guitar pickups?
It was paper and hair comb.
Well done. Well done. 3 for 3 so far, sir. Number 4. How many women feature on the album cover? A, 15, B, 18, or C, 19?
Oh, that's so close, those numbers. They're all topless, aren't they?
They are.
Yeah, is that the album cover? That's the
It
original
is.
one.
I'll spend a minute on it afterwards.
Yeah. Don't know. 19?
Well done.
Oh,
4 for 4, sir. That's a great day.
that was just a lucky guess.
Which famous spouse did Hendrix ask to take the photo of him and the children in Central Park? I will explain what him and the children means later.
Okay. Don't know.
Linda McCartney.
All right.
Yeah, he asked her to take the photo.
Right.
And the final question of this quiz. Before going to record the album, Hendrix toured for 66 days. How many gigs did he play in those 66 days?
I'll go for a weird 65.
Oh, 63. Even so, in 66
That's
days,
insane.
in 2 months, he had 3 days off.
God.
Put it that way.
That's what made the band kind of
Tight.
split up. And that's why they didn't. Yeah, they got tired of touring. Yeah.
Oh, really?
That's why the
I
Jimi
thought
Hendrix experience was no more after.
But surely it also
After
explains
the album.
why they sounded so good live. Yeah,
for sure.
So well done, mate. 5 out of 6. Brilliant. Not
Not
better
too
than the
bad,
last
right?
one. Yeah, no, proud of you.
Yeah. No, 4 out of 6. I didn't get the last one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was 4 out of 6. How many
Well done.
have you guys got?
Let us know in the comments how many you got as well.
Yeah.
So again, we're going to have to wrap things up in a bit because we are heading to a gig, heading off to a gig shortly.
But not before I do my own quiz.
Oh, you've got a quiz.
Uh-huh.
Oh, God.
There's just a couple of questions. Right. See, I got my notes. First time I got notes.
Done it,
Yeah. All right. What was the name, might as hard, of the nightclub that Hendrix bought to build his own studio?
Oh, my God.
He actually wanted to do a nightclub. He wanted to keep the business running. He bought the nightclub to make a nightclub, and then someone said, no, just use for your studio. Yeah.
This isn't something like...
You're not going to get it. See?
I'm going to go... Was it like... The Electric Ladies?
No.
Oh, okay.
It was
What
called
was
Generation.
Generation.
And what was the name of the studio?
What did he name it?
Yeah.
When did he do this? After which album?
Around 68. I think it was during this album or just before it or just after. I don't know.
Okay, I'm going to go with my same answer, the Electric Ladies.
You got it, Electric Lady. Yeah, you got it. That's it, Electric Lady, you got it. So that's this year.
Fantastic.
All right.
That threw me. He's got a quiz for me. I'm the one who does all the planning.
Which object did he use to do this slide guitar effect on all along the watchtower?
I'm going to go for the hair comb that he used for the kazoo.
That would be great, but no, it was
okay.
a cigarette lighter.
Oh, wow. Wait. Oh, a normal lighter?
Yeah.
Wow,
just a lighter. Just put a lighter.
Remember what we said in the Zeppelin episode where you can use anything for percussion, and Bonham was using the trash can. I've played gigs with Felipe where he uses matchsticks.
Yeah.
And now we've got a guy using a lighter as a slide tool.
Why
Fantastic.
not?
Yeah. Anyway, right, let's start wrapping things up. I just want to talk quickly about the album cover because it was something that Hendrix was really upset about. It was chosen by the record label.
Oh.
So
what was it about?
The 19 Ladies Naked.
He didn't want that.
He didn't want it.
I thought that was so Hendrix. I could totally see him doing that.
It wasn't. He wanted.
Maybe he did it privately, but not.
I think so.
I see.
He wanted the picture of him and some kids that were dressed up. So him and the band and some children in the park in Central Park, New York, and he asked Linda McCartney to photograph it. You can find this image, and I believe this image has been used on the 50th anniversary re-release thing of the album. So you can find this image. But for now, record shops wouldn't sell it with the ladies on because obviously there's boobs everywhere and naked ladies. So what you will find on Spotify is just a photo of his face with some red and yellow filter on it. Yeah. Which is a shame. I mean, in the end, I think if you look at Zeppelin's Houses of the Holy, I don't think there's anything wrong with the current album.
Well, the thing is how you interpret art. And if you try to see whatever is being done in the 60s with the kind of information and culture and everything we have today, you're not going to understand it. And I don't judge that kind of art. I think there's a reason why the album cover was like that, and it reflected the culture of that time. So I think I personally don't see a reason to see that cover as offensive or anything like that.
No, I agree.
You know, and
anyway, it's fantastic. The last thing I wanted to cover was just the reception of the album and how this album has gone down in rock and roll history. The interesting thing is that when this album was first released, here's some quotes that people used to describe it: mixed up and muddled, unstructured and heavy-handed guitar.
Agree with that.
Yeah.
But that's positive.
Well, no, it's negative here. It's positive to us.
Positive for me.
But I mean, if you go on later, but people did definitely praise it for its technological innovations. You know, someone said it's the best job of stereo. Hendrix achieves unique effects, an extended look into Hendrix's head, which we've just said. This is him putting his mark and his personality on this album. And all you got to do is just look later about what people think of the album. One of the greatest double albums in rock, the fullest realization of Jimmy's far-reaching ambitions, a true classic of the psych rock era. Likely the greatest rock album of all time because of its exceptional concept, artful melodies, experimentation, and skilled musicianship. Brilliant. Which I think is pretty fair, isn't it?
That is fair, yeah. Isn't it? I mean, the fact that it's, I love the unstructured one.
Unstructured and heavy-handed guitar.
I would take that as a compliment if someone ever says that about an album I recorded.
Fantastic, excellent. Cool. Right, and I'll just finish off with what other people think of this album. Classic Rock have it as the 10th best rock album ever. The Times have it as the 37th best album of all time. Larkin's Top 1000 Albums. He's a music critic and he's put together a book of top 1000 albums he believes are the best. That's number 32. And in the Rolling Stones 500 greatest albums of all time, Electric Ladyland sits at number 54, which I think is just testament to how good and innovative and important this album was to rock and roll.
And even if you take it out of the rock and roll universe, I would say it should feature amongst the 100 most important albums of all times of any music genre, because it's long, creative, and it's got all sorts of innovations
but
in it.
Executed well.
It
wasn't all these ideas that then ended up being executed poorly. Production was great, the sound was great, and the final product was incredible, wasn't it?
Brilliant.
Anyway, any final words on the album?
oh, just listen to it, enjoy it, and read the lyrics.
Aggressive
Read the
funk.
lyrics.
Aggressive funk. Love it. Okay, here is Feed the Drummer.
What is that?
Felipe can explain the story behind. There you go for the viewers.
Oh yeah, basically my wife was trying to cook today and she burnt the waffle.
Don't eat it. I put the croissant there, so you
I'm
wouldn't
not
have
going
to
to eat
that.
this.
But
So that's today's lunch.
But you've got to, for listeners, he's holding up a black waffle, as in it's crisped. It is burnt to a crisp because they were left in the oven and forgotten about. And
So?
which song from the album does this
Burning
relate
the
to?
house down?
Burning the house down. There we go. Anyway, have the croissant. I don't want you to eat the burnt stuff. Your tummy will be bad for the gig.
Believe me, I
Go on,
won't.
give a crunch for the microphone. There we go. That's
There we
Felipe
go.
digging into a croissant.
Really
And
good
guys,
croissant.
we need to shoot off to a gig. So thank you very much for joining us again on another episode of Long Live Rock and Roll. Please find us on our socials. On Twitter and Instagram, we are at longliveRNRpod. On YouTube and Facebook, you can search the Long Live Rock and Roll podcast and you'll see our channels. What I really must ask for anyone who's enjoying the podcast is we really need reviews on Apple Podcasts and iTunes. I'll quickly explain what happens. The more reviews you get, so if we at the moment we've got 5 5-star reviews and we thank everyone who's reviewed us. Now if someone searches rock and roll into podcasts, a podcast that has 10 5-star reviews is going to be seen before us. So to sort out the algorithms.
But we are better, so you need to give us this stars
I'm trying
and the
to,
reviews.
I'm trying to remain humble.
Please do so.
But the more reviews we get, the higher up in the algorithms we go. And if people search rock instead of rock and roll or long live, if we get more reviews, we're going to be seen more. So we really appreciate any reviews you can give us on the Apple Podcasts app, as it helps with our visibility. So once again, thank you very much for joining us on this episode. We hope you've enjoyed it. There will be a Spotify playlist on the show notes with every song on this album, plus other ones we've spoken about, like that Zappa one, for example.
Yeah, thanks a lot for being with us, especially for those who have been following the podcast since the beginning. And keep on rocking, everyone.
And as always, take care and long live rock and roll.